Alright, so I thought I'd do a video responding to some comments, because there have been some really good comments recently on the channel, and it's really limiting to have to type stuff into a little box, and I prefer to just, you know, give a spontaneous answer to things, because I feel like that's more relevant. But I'll do a couple and then see how much time we've got, and then if I need to do a separate one, then we'll do a separate one. So I'll just do a couple from today and yesterday. So bear with me here. Alright, so one that I noticed was a guy called Jason who commented. These are on the public forum, so I hope no one minds me mentioning or reading their comments. If you do, just let me know and I'll delete it. But yeah, Jason said, so he said that how you choose to present your message, so no charisma, rambling stream of consciousness, you're talking too slow, do you even watch them before you upload them? Let's say that your message is important. If you think so, then why wouldn't you try harder to effectively communicate? So, you know, multiple people have asked me if I'm on drugs in these videos, and I know why they're asking that. So, you know, it's interesting. I did a job interview before the new year, and it was in front of a panel of 3 interviewers, and then when I got the feedback from it, the feedback was they said that all of them thought that I had a calming effect, and they could all feel it. I remember also when I was when my wife was in labour and we were in the hospital, the midwives, a few of them kept saying, you seem really chilled out, are you okay? So generally I'm pretty flat, pretty level, pretty chilled out. But anyway, so yeah, so Jason is, or I don't know if you see this or not, but Jason, you're obviously an intelligent person, you're obviously a smart person, and if someone's not familiar or has not been following this channel for a while, I've addressed this multiple times, and if someone comes to view one of these videos, and I'm under no illusion that my personality isn't great for filming content and for this as a speaker, like I'm not particularly good at it. I don't particularly have a great personality for it. Like, I'm pretty boring, I think. I'm pretty, you could say calming and chilled out would be synonymous with boring, or is pretty close to boring. But if someone that comes to this channel, maybe without a background in this knowledge or understanding of this way of speaking, then if they're intelligent, then they are gonna immediately notice the problems with this way of speaking, the problems with me talking about this, and they're so right. They've clocked the obvious thing straight away, the obvious problem with this, talking about this straight away, and that's, if it's taken as it will be for most people it will be taken as me as a person. I've got my message or my concept that I'm trying to communicate, and it's hard to say that. I mean, it's ridiculous that I'm talking about this, because that immediately suggests that I may have got this message that I'm trying to get across, that I'm invested in, and I'm invested in other people understanding. Like, you know, you can just assume that by default, by the fact that I'm making videos like this, and it's so hard to explain or describe that. In fact, you know, it's near impossible to explain or describe, hence the title of the channel, that it's not like that. That's not what this is about. It's not about me and my message. It's not about something I'm trying to communicate. And if you're an intelligent person like Jason, you'll clock that straight away. You'll assume I may have got this message to me, and then you see what I'm doing here. You see the way I'm talking here, and you'll be like, wait a minute, are you mad? What the fuck are you doing? This is not effective. What is wrong with you? And then I totally appreciate people's feedback, people's constructive criticism, and people's advice, and you know, they're completely right. All of it is correct. All of it is very well spotted and spot on. But the strange thing about this way of speaking is, I'll contrast this with other things I do. So I've mentioned before, I teach fitness classes. If I was to go and teach a fitness class to like 20 or 30 people with the demeanour that I have in these videos, then no one would come back, would they? No chance. They'd be asleep by the end of it. I'm the head of marketing in my work, so I'll go on business meetings. I'll go to events and stuff like that. I'll run social media accounts. Would you believe that? You know, so this all requires concept, strategy, social skills, you know, charisma, rapport with stakeholders, stuff like that, with you know, delivery, with attention to how things come across, with attention to pushing a brand, promoting a service, promoting a message. So I know how to do all that. Well, you know, and in some of those areas I'm still not great, but this is different. This is different because if I was to do this to promote a message, to promote an idea, to promote a brand, then there'd be no chance I'd be doing this in the way that I'm doing it. There'd be no chance I'd be winging it completely without an idea of what I'm going to say, without a script, without reviewing the content before posting it. We already know that I don't have a tendency to review the content before I post it, because some of the videos I've posted have been shit. But that's because I have no investment. You know, it sounds weird because you'll ask, why are you even doing this? But I have no investment in promoting this message, because there almost isn't a message here. I have no. I'm not going to say I don't care. I'm not going to say, but personally I don't care. Personally, I'm not trying to get my message across. I'm not trying to educate people. It's very, I've said this many times, it's paradoxical, and unless you get that in a non-conceptual way, if you're smart, you're gonna clock everything that's wrong with this as conceptually, intellectually, and then you're gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck is this guy talking about? This is nonsense. And that's completely correct. It's completely correct. And it's almost like I have no point of view on this. There's no point of view here, which is why I've said before, it comes across very vague, very confusing, very deranged at times, very not right. And with you know, I'm also not trying to present a personality. I'm not trying to market myself as a personality. It's the opposite of that. I'm pointing to something in experience that's not me. They're not this person. So it's not about me, this person. And I would say, this might not be true, but I would say I almost, when talking from this moment, it's spontaneous, it's intuitive, there's no scripting, so the words that I speak just come out one sound at a time, and I'm speaking from somewhere that I don't know what that somewhere is, but words keep coming out. So, and there is a, let's say there's a transmission there that's not in the language, it's not in the concepts, it's not in the me telling you something that you're trying to understand, not in me communicating a message, you're going to get the message. I've said that a lot. And the transmission is not from me to you, it's, you could say, from you to yourself through whatever form presents itself here. So the image, the personality, the content almost isn't the point. Which seems really stupid, doesn't it? Because why on earth am I posting me talking about this? I don't know. Maybe it's not effective. But yeah, my delivery is probably shit. My personality is probably shit for this. My video skills are not great. But these are all points that I can and will try and improve on, and I've got loads of feedback for that, which is appreciated. But there's something about this way of speaking that I'm not quite in control of, and I don't really have any way of controlling that, way of improving that, because it's not me that's doing it. And it sounds weird, but that's kind of the sense behind it. So when people ask me questions and people talk to me, I can get, and it's not me that's doing it specifically. I can clearly see the obstruction. I can clearly see. It's almost like I can see into the function of the seeming individual, how it's working, how it's playing out, and I get a sense for what's going on in that apparent person's experience, and it's so clear, it's so obvious. It requires no analysis, it just presents itself clearly, because I've recognised all this stuff in, let's say, myself. So, you know, there's a resonance there with the energetics of it, and it's not necessarily from memory. I'm not talking from memory. Maybe I was in my earlier videos, but it's not like I've learned this subject and now I'm imparting my knowledge on this subject that I've accumulated like any other conventional discipline or whatever. It's just not like that this time, which is why I'm completely all over the place, and the stream of consciousness is scrambled. It contradicts itself. I contradict myself all the time. My thinking's so lateral it doesn't make sense, because there isn't particularly thinking there. It's not like I've thought a structured, linear how I'm going to describe something. It's all over the place, but that's the value in that is to get the mind out of the road. The value in the contradictions is to tie the mind up, so that the focus comes into direct experience. The focus comes into the knowing of that, not the narrative itself. So there seems, it's not like there's a reason for this, it seems to be the way it plays out the way it does. Let's say for the purpose it serves, but I'm not necessarily in control of that. So, moving on to the next one. So Jason, appreciate the feedback, and I'll do my best to improve the delivery as much as I can, but I'm sure I can do something. Sorry guys. Let's see. So another comment. Let's see. I've responded to these, but it's good to see when you don't have a point of view. You can almost absorb all other points of view as your own, because you're not limited to one point of view, one line of thinking, one conceptual understanding. You can this almost gives you access to everyone else's stream of consciousness in a way, and it teaches you things about, let's say, yourself too. So sometimes when people describe waking up, how waking up seemed to unfold, I recognise pieces of what they are saying, sometimes in a really weird way, where something in me absolutely affirms what they are saying, even though I'm not actually sure if I've directly experienced it. I totally get that. And sometimes I've tried to chase or find or have whatever has been described, so I can understand why you might be in two minds about it. Yeah. So that intuitive feeling that appears behind the need to understand it, that appears behind the words and the concepts, that you can feel, you just feel it. There's something there that is pulling you into it, or there's something there that understands already, despite the need to understand it, despite the need to experience it or confirm it with your own experience, or confirm it with memory or concepts or relation. That's exactly what I'm pointing to. That's exactly if there is a message, the message behind this channel. So there might feel like you mentioned two minds about it. There might feel like a separation there between the me, the self, the person, and the something else that you'll never understand as an experience, understand as something that you confirm in your experience as a thought or as something that you relate to. That's what's so weird about it. This awakening doesn't happen in time. It doesn't work like that. It's not like I have this awakening and then I experience it, remember it, and now I have it. It's not like that. It's just not like that. That's why it's so elusive to people, because the mind will come in and it will frame that into what it understands, and what it understands is an experience that it can relate to through thought and analysis. It's not an event, it's not a thing, it's not something you have, and you've got in touch with that. Some part of you has got in touch with itself, and it knows itself inherently, and you can feel it, but you can't describe it. It seems elusive to you. It seems like something you need to get, or something you need to get back, or you're not quite sure. But in that knowingness, in that recognition, if you get in touch with that, is there uncertainty in that itself? Or where is the uncertainty coming from? Is uncertainty coming from the mind's need to understand it, or the mind's need to confirm it, or try and capture it somehow? Or does it need to be captured? Does it exist in time, or is it here inherently, infinitely, right now? So once you're in touch with that, let's say, it's just that all the way. That's it. It's as simple as that, and it doesn't need to be any more complicated. Just go into that. Anything, just let's say you follow that. Anything that brings about that intuitive recognition. I call this awakening a recognition. Anything that brings that about, that's it. Just, let's say, focus on that. Or, I said follow it. That might not be a great way, because that maybe encourages chasing it. But in your own experience, find it in your own experience, and you see that it doesn't need to be found. you almost can't find it, if that makes sense. You almost can't chase it, but you can enhance that quality. You can enrich the knowingness, the being of that, and I guess that's what we would conventionally call a practice. And once you know that, once you're in touch with that, then that will become more and more primary in your experience. That'll become more and more obvious, more and more clear, and eventually it just overtakes and dissolves all of the mind's attempt to understand it. But really, anything I can say, now that you know that knowingness, anything that I can say would just be probably not effective, because I'll overcomplicate it. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, so where are we here? Okay, so Jay's comments, I think I commented a massive essay on that. So Gypsy Moth, I think, says this explanation is so good, describing what it is and is not. Is it possible to be aware of the, in quotes, something that knows itself but not separation yet? I'm running out of time here. So, is it possible to be aware of something that knows itself but not separation yet? So in that question, I notice an inherent suggestion of separation, something that knows itself, and then the separation or not separation. They're the same thing. I think I understand the question. I think it's the self-knowing knows itself anyway, and that is what you are essentially. The me that is separate from that is the illusion. So the me that is separate from that never directly knows knowing itself, because it's made of it. It's looking from it. This generally, and it did for me, seems to happen in stages. The initial recognition I would describe as a recognition of yourself as the knowingness that knows your own experience, or knows experience in general, as the awareness that is aware of the thoughts that seem to come together to create an illusion of the thinker that thinks the thoughts. And seeing that the thinker that thinks the thoughts is not a real entity, just a collection of transient thoughts suggesting the reality of a me that's in here. Once that's explored thoroughly and it's seen through, it's seen that it's just constantly changing thoughts, what becomes more real, or what is experienced as, let's say, or it's not really an experience, but what is obvious, is clear, that is more real than that, is the knowingness of it, the awareness of it, the I amness, the isness, the consciousness. Many words people use to describe this. Existence. And the identity as a thinker kind of dissolves. And, I can't describe what that's like, but my best attempt is to say that the knowingness that allows everything in your experience becomes quite obviously the primary, or quite obviously the hesitate to say identity. It's not so much an identity in the way the mind would frame it, but it becomes, let's say, you, and it doesn't matter if it's you or not. It becomes primary. It becomes obvious, and that frees up the limitations created, the tightness, the contraction created by this illusion of the thinker that is me, that relates to a world. After that, the separation starts to dissolve, let's say, anyway. The illusion gradually starts to break down, and that includes what I talk about when I try and talk about non-dual. I can't talk about it. I can vaguely point to it, but it's not something I can describe because it's beyond description. It's not something that even I understand as a person. It's something that becomes clear when we get in touch with this that I'm pointing to, as not separate from it, if that makes sense. So after the initial recognition, it wasn't obvious. It was still obvious to me that I was here in this body, moving through a world out there. That duality gradually dismantled itself, with a few accelerations after that initial recognition. So the important thing is the initial recognition, which is what I think that you're describing as the knowingness. All you need to do is focus on that, is bring that into the forefront of experience as much as possible, and everything else I say is overcomplicated. But I have a habit of that. Okay, I think we're running out of time here, so alright, sorry I had to cut there because I ran out of time, but let's continue. So here's a long question by handles Jade Crump. Not sure if that's your real name or not, but so the comment is, when you say bring the attention closer to the sensory, I did, and hearing a background sound, it feels calm and nice, and the body starts to feel a sensation similar to feeling like floating on water. But so I'll just mention straight away that what you described there, that calm, that stillness, that immersion in the senses, the certainty of the sensation, and the simpleness of it, the lack of complexity or confusion. What you just described there is where to stay. But staying there is an illusion. You can't stay there. What it seems like moving away from that or not staying there is a kind of illusion created by added to thoughts, adding to belief concepts, the uncertain movement of the mind with the energetics of belief and uncertainty feeling behind it, seem to distract attention from this simplicity of the sensory experience. I'll continue. But questions come as well. Who brings the attention? Who keeps the attention in the sensory experience? If someone says, by no one, or there is no answer, it's whatever's happening, then I might worry about this am I seeking peace. To a point it feels slightly insane to go against peace, but the non-dual thoughts have repeatedly criticised seeking anything and that is the seeker. Knowing there is no trying not to be a seeker, whatever I do feels like seeking. Even cleaning my face, so someone might suggest or realise this belief, this energy, or it's just labelling what's happening as seeking. But who would do the releasing? What is no doership? It's simply the case I cannot believe in I am not someone, or release the thoughts. It's just another belief, and those beliefs I found it hard to believe, and I could hold for a few minutes. I do feel great difficulty in holding beliefs. It's in a loop by itself, something persists and it doesn't fade by itself, feeling like I can't hold beliefs, but at the same time it's certain that there is no one there to release any beliefs. Beliefs just fade away naturally by themselves, and I do not feel like I can do anything about it. At this point it releases and there's something else, no pinning down to that because it doesn't even try to. It's kind of dead end at this point. So yeah, that seemed to me just like a narration of the complexity and the uncertainty of the mind, or the one who's seeking, or the one who's narrating experience. And a good example of the uncertainty of it, the constant questioning experience, the constant relating to experience and trying to figure out the correct experience, or trying to figure out how to attain peace. And then at the end there was kind of the answer to the the answer to that, the full circle to that kind of naturally played out itself. And that to me kind of illustrates the seeming movement away from this inherent peace, through the constant questioning, the constant relating to, the constant uncertainty of the seeming one who's experiencing, the seeming belief that I am here relating to this experience, and this experience is mine, and I question it and I ask, is this true or not true? Is this correct or incorrect? Is this just a belief? Is this just seeking? And it is clear in that comment that there is an awareness of the contrast between these two energies, and I feel like the energies here are the important factor, because with the thoughts, if there's belief in that belief can easily, seemingly carry us away from this peace that you described clearly in the beginning there. And it gets really messy and it gets really lost and confusing, but there's an energy behind that. There's a, let's call it a seeking or seeker energy that all these thoughts seem to spring from, and it's that energetic movement, that energetic tension, that energetic uncertainty or questioning, not in the sense of relaxed curiosity, but in the sense of tense yearning or tense seeking or intense confusion. And through that comment there was a nice contrast there between those two energies or experiences, and noticing that contrast and let's say, becoming aware of that, what this inherent peace, this inherent satisfaction, this inherent okayness, the in the senses, like you explained at the start, and in the sound, the sound is certain. The sound doesn't have doubt. It's beyond that. It doesn't need that. Because sound is just sound, in that there's a transcendent certainty, a transcendent clarity, and a transcendent peace and okayness, a just isness. And you described the associated kind of experience there with that, like you said, floating in water, that relaxed, calm okayness, immersion. The floating in water suggests to me an immersion of the person, the self, into this vast expansive ocean of peace and okayness. And then it all started with the but but then these questions come, and I got the sense from the description of that narration of those questions, a kind of sense of you explained it very well, seeking, uncertainty, confusion, trying to figure it out, trying to confirm an experience as this or that. And then you rounded it off at the end by telling yourself, you don't need all that, you don't need that. That contrast in energies can be clearly felt. Might not be apparent to those who are caught up in the thought narrative with a lot of belief, but the underlying feeling, the underlying energetic movement, seemingly away from peace. When you go past the thoughts into just the feeling, you'll see that feeling, that sensation, that emotion is exactly the same as that, exactly the same qualities as that immersion, that sensory immersion in the sound that you explained before. It's the same thing. You don't need the thoughts. In that there's an immense peace. Even the energetic emotional feeling of frustration or anger or dis-ease or the confusion in an energetic sense, not in the mind sense, if that even exists. But my point is the emotion itself, that's the important part. Go into that and experience that fully without trying to relate to it as a person, without trying to relate to it as one who's doing, or even the one who's seeking. Seeking can happen without the seeker, in a sense. That energy, go into the energy of it and then move deeply into that emotional feeling, that sensation, that energy, and you'll find that its nature is non-dual, its nature is peace. Anyway, so that'll do for now. Anyone wants to ask any more questions, I'll have a look through and see ones that seem interesting, and then I'll post up the response in the next video. Talk to you next time.